بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وجاوزنا ببني إسرائيل البحر فأتوا على قوم يعكفون على أصنام لهم قالوا يا موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة قال إنكم قوم تجهلون بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم فاستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم الأمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for coming and participating in this gathering. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us. The idea of doing this gathering every week on Tuesdays, even though I'm not feeling well, and I want to apologize beforehand if you cannot hear me clearly. So if I can request brothers, if you want to sit on the chair, sit in the chair, please take the chair. But if you can, please come closer so that you can hear me clearly, inshallah. The reason we come here, make a little bit of effort, even though we are doing favor for ourselves. This gathering, sitting here in this gathering, is not something that we are doing, or we're not making any favors for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're doing a favor for ourselves. So the reason we come here, and the reason I only choose one ayah and share with you, and I try to give you the meaning of that ayah and the explanation of that ayah, is because I like and I want all of you to come closer to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and intentionally I'm choosing the verses that I feel are very relevant to our times. So inshallah, one such verse that I want to share with all of you tonight, and hopefully you will find it very, very beneficial, inshallah. It's a verse from Surah Al-A'raf, which is chapter number 7, verse number 138. Chapter number 7, verse number 138. This ayah is about Musa alayhi salam and his nation. Now Musa alayhi salatu wasalam is a great messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was given a permission to deliver a message to two nations at the same time. Two nations at the same time. One was Fir'aun and his people. Sometimes we don't make a distinction when we say Bani Israel. Bani Israel was not the nation of Fir'aun, was not the people of Fir'aun. Fir'aun was a different person. His nation and his people were different people. They were the elite of the society. Bani Israel were the slaves. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was given permission to give da'wah to both of these nations. One was Fir'aun and his people, Fir'aun and his progeny, the royals. And the other one, he was supposed to lead his own people where he was from. He was from Bani Israel. He was from the Israelites. So the first part of his legacy was in Egypt, giving da'wah to Fir'aun and his people. And the second part of his legacy, the latter part of his legacy, is when he escaped Egypt by the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They escaped Egypt, they crossed the water. And the ayah that I want to share with you tonight is an ayah that happened. It talks about an incident that happened after they crossed the water, after they crossed the river. And one lesson in particular that I find very, very powerful and very relevant to our times. So what happened? They crossed the water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَاوَزْنَا بِبَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ الْبَحْرَ. And we had the children of Israel, we had them cross the water. Meaning what? In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that I have allowed them to cross the water. You know what was the situation there, right? I have allowed them to cross the water. So when they cross the water, now they are in the desert. فَأَتَوْا عَلَىٰ قَوْمٍ. They came upon a nation. They are in a desert, they crossed the water. Now they came upon a nation. What kind of nation was it? يَعْكُفُونَ عَلَىٰ أَصْنَامٍ لَهُمْ. They are sitting in front of the idols that they worship in full concentration. You know what itikaf means, right? The activity that we do in the last 10 days of Ramadan, in which you seclude yourself from the rest of the world, you break every connection with the world, and you just devote yourself to the masjid and devote yourself to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how they were worshipping their idols. They were sitting in full concentration in front of their idols and they were worshipping idols. So this is a scene that they saw. They crossed the water, they're in a desert, and they came upon this nation. Now, with us Muslims, when we pray, when we make salah, what happens to all of us? We get really distracted. Either it is me or you or anyone. We get really, really distracted. Most of us, including myself, especially when we are praying on our own, we try to read the smallest surah possible, like Inna A'tainaka al-Kawthar, like Qul Huwallahu Ahad, like Wal Asr, and we are still distracted. Forget about the month of Ramadan which is coming. Forget about the month of Ramadan when the Qari is standing or Imam is standing and he's reciting an entire juz. At that time when we are standing behind him, the only thing that we are thinking is when the ruku is coming. When the ruku is coming. That's the only thing that we are concentrating on. That we are so distracted when we pray. But these people from other faiths, from other religion, especially a religion in which there is a lot of imagery, statue or idols or temples. For example, a person can sit behind a statue of Jesus Christ for hours and hours and hours. A person can sit in a temple and look at his idols and just sit there and meditate for hours and hours. People do yoga for an intensive amount of time, for a very long period of time, especially the meditation part of it. They can do that kind of an activity. So when you look at them, you wonder that these people, they have so much concentration and we have no concentration. That's what happened to them, to the people of Bani Israel. When they came upon that nation, they said to themselves that, we try our best to get some kind of concentration. We never get that kind of concentration. Look at these people. They didn't just find people worshipping their idols. They found people worshipping their idols, able to call on to their idols in full concentration. They just disconnected themselves from the rest of the world. That was the nation that they came upon. So they said to themselves that maybe these people, they're on to something. Maybe these people and their practices have some kind of benefit. So maybe we should adopt some of their practices in order to develop that kind of concentration. Yes, we will believe in our God. We won't believe in their idols. We will believe in our God, one Allah. We will believe in Allah, but maybe we should take some of their practices in order to develop that kind of concentration. So they came to Musa alayhi salam. Now they came to Musa alayhi salam. And they said to Musa, قَالُوا يَا Musa, O Musa, اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. Why don't you make us a god like their God? Or even if you want to give them a benefit of doubt, why don't you make us a statue or an idol that represents our God? So when we worship him, we can visualize him. We can look at him, we can visualize him. And in this way, we will be able to have more concentration. Look at these people, how they are able to accomplish that concentration. Now the thing with all of us, as human beings, I'm not just talking about Muslims, as human beings, we just look on the outside of the things, right? We don't really try to think deeper. That's the problem with all of us. We don't try to give them any kind of thought. If something happens in front of us, we just try to make things easier for ourselves, right? But if you really think about it, why don't we have concentration in ourselves? What's the reason behind it? These people, they are doing shirk. And Shaitan wants them to do shirk. That's why no problem. He lets them go. What are you doing? You're worshipping one Allah. He doesn't want you to worship one Allah. So he keeps you distracted. The fact that you're constantly distracted is an indication that Shaitan doesn't like what you're worshipping or who you are worshipping. So you get waswasa, constantly distraction from Shaitan. Whereas these people who are worshipping shirk, who are doing shirk, no problem. They can get all the concentration they want. No problem whatsoever. So this is the thing. Shaitan, they are doing exactly what Shaitan wants from them. So they are not distracted. We are always distracted, but we don't think like that. We just get caught on the outwardly of the things, and then we say to ourselves, "Oh, mashallah, these people have so much concentration. We have no concentration. No, we should adopt some of their practices then." Now, why do I think that this is something that is very relevant to our times? We are living in a time that we call modern age of science and technology. And I have met a lot of Muslims, and probably you have met them as well, that they say that, we need to update the practices of our Islam in order to fit Islam with the modern context. The world has changed, the society has changed, the language has changed, our lifestyles have changed, everything around us has changed. This world is not the same place as it was 1400 years ago in a desert when Prophet ﷺ was preaching Islam. So maybe we should update the practices of Islam, in order to fit in and in order to meet the modern necessities of our life. Let me say it very, very clearly and explicitly, and please do not be confused about this issue. And here I need your attention now. I'm just going to finish the whole thing in 5 minutes, but now I need your attention. When it comes to spirituality, when it comes to our prayers, when it comes to our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no evolution possible. The best way to connect to your Allah is already being given to you and me by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, when it comes to the application of Islamic laws in modern times, the application of Islamic laws and understanding them in the modern context, what is halal, what is haram, what is permissible, what is not permissible, this is an exercise in which scholars will engage, because we are not living in the same kind of circumstances. These circumstances never existed before, so they will do certain kind of ijtihad to make it very, very clear to us that what is right and what is wrong. They will do that. But this ayah is not about laws. This ayah is about spirituality. These people saw them worshipping their idols. It was about spirituality. So when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to that, then there is no other way to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the salah that we have. There is no other way to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the salah that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given to you and me. So we come into modern age, we come into modern world, and we see some people who get a spiritual high by attending a, what do you call it? A musical concert. You know, hours and hours listening to music. I've met some Muslims who are very fond of Bollywood movies, very fond of Bollywood music. And they say, Mulana, we feel a connection. And obviously when they're listening to that music, they are not talking about some, actor and actresses and some romantic songs. They're talking about songs in which a poet is talking about spirituality and connection with God and things like that. Even the lyrics of the song has the word Allah in it or Mawla in it. So they say, Mulana, when we listen to these kind of music, we feel a connection. Whereas if someone is reciting Quran or if we are reciting Quran, we don't understand it, so we don't feel a connection. So maybe, in order to feel closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maybe we should replace our Quran with the music. Not just any music. The music that has good lyrics, that has spirituality in it, that has things in it. My discussion is not about music, by the way. It's not a fatwa that I'm giving you. My discussion is about finding alternatives that suits us, that suits my needs. That's what happened to these people. They came upon a nation, they saw something that they thought will suit them. So they said to Musa alayhi salam, Ya Musa, that they are able to figure out something that suits them, that help them to have that kind of concentration. When they said this thing to Musa alayhi salam, look at Musa alayhi salam, what he said. He used very strong words. He said, Innakum qawmun tajhalun. You have become a nation that allows their emotions and desires and whims to get the best of them. You have become a nation that are driven by your emotions. Today you are into this thing, so you want to mold Islam into this. Tomorrow you will be into something else, and you want to mold Islam into that. This is what you will do. You are never going to stick to one thing. You will keep changing Islam. You will keep changing Islam. This is what you're going to do. Understand this. In Islam, there are certain principles that are timeless principles. They don't change. They don't change. And you stick to them. And you want them to be in your life. These are the principles of Islam, timeless principles of Islam. When I started working here, and this is the last example I promise you, Irshad, and we're done. When I started working here, and I didn't have that much confidence. I was young and I was naive, and I was in a culture that I never knew before. Yes, I became an Imam after studying for 1 year in Al Maktoum College, but that was an academic environment where people who were sitting with me, they were from different parts of the world. I've never come across a whole generation of people who were born and raised in this country. How they think and how they want Imam to speak about certain issues. I didn't know about that. And that was a time when I was very hugely criticized by the people, and rightly so. And I don't blame them. They had experiences in the past and they didn't have any confidence in me. And remember this one time, I finished my Jummah speech, and those of you who know me, whenever I finish my namaz and my salah and Jummah, I come and stand by the door in order to meet people, and if they have any questions, they can come and ask me those questions. So I was standing by the door, and this person, who is a very good friend of mine, by the way, he's a dear friend of mine now, but at that time he had, because of my accent, by the way, I still have the same accent. I still have the same English. I haven't developed that Scottish accent or, posh accent, whatever accent you want to name it. But he came to me and he started asking different questions, and basically he wanted to ask me questions in order to stop me with his knowledge. I don't know why, but he had this agenda, and I could sense that agenda. So, but I was trying to answer him in the best way possible. And then he said to me, Mulana Sahab, And that's how he said it. He said, Maulana Sahib, you know, I'm able to concentrate more in my prayer if I sit and pray. Because there was this one time when I was in a church, I have a Christian friend, he invited me to a church, and I was able to sit in the chair and listen to a sermon for 2 hours, and I really enjoyed it. So maybe we should have chairs here. Have you seen the hall upstairs? You'll probably need 500, 600 chairs there if you want everyone to sit in the chair. So he said maybe we should have chairs in the hall, in this entire area, and maybe we should let people sit in the chair when they worship Allah, because then they will have more concentration. And I didn't say anything, like I told you, I didn't have any kind of confidence and I didn't know how to respond, but it kept, you know, it made me think, that what will be the next step then? Maybe we should have a podium here. What will be the next step? Maybe we should have a giant musical instrument, because singing along will help, right? Maybe, you know, this salah is just an exercise up and down, up and down. Maybe we should just come into the masjid and just sit down like this and just listen to the Imam. Just listen to his sermon, just listen to his lecture. You know, this exercise of salah doesn't make any difference to us. You know, maybe even if we want to pray, we should pray in English now. We shouldn't pray in Arabic language anymore, because we only understand English now. So maybe we just should pray in English. So we will keep saying one convenience, one more convenience, one more convenience, one more convenience, one more convenience. And before you know it, Islam will not be the way it was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where will you put an end to it? You know, if you look into the modern context, there were things that were totally unacceptable only 10 years ago. Now they have become totally acceptable. And they're trying to teach our kids about them. You know what I'm talking about. It was totally unacceptable, not only among the Muslims, even among the non-Muslims. In the Western media, there were people who were boycotted. And you know those people, those Hollywood stars who were boycotted because of their sexuality, because of their preferences. They were boycotted, but now they are the biggest celebrities on the face of this earth. You know what I'm talking about. You know the discussion regarding marijuana, how this thing has become acceptable now. Weed or marijuana, I don't know which drug is it. But what I'm trying to say is that the standards of this world will never be constant. That will change from one way to another. It will change. It will never stay consistent. You may like some other practices of some other religion. You may like some other aspects of some other social behaviors. But if they are not consistent with our practices in Islam, you cannot take them. You cannot say, maybe we should update our Islam in order to keep up with that thing. No, you can't do that. In our Islam, we have principles. Some principles. Like I said, laws can change because we are living in new circumstances now. Laws can change. But when it comes to certain principles that are timeless principles, you have to have respect for them. And those principles, you should change. You should change. If you don't know Arabic language, make an effort and learn Arabic language. You know, if you don't want to learn the entire language, at least learn your salah. Learn what do you say in your salah, what your salah represents. I always mention this to the people, and hopefully you will be able to relate to it. One time when I was traveling to Pakistan, I have a brother with me. You know, we knew each other, and coincidentally we were traveling together, and this was before I got married. And we were traveling together, and you know on the airport how my look can intimidate other people. Nowadays I'm more like a modern mulana. Before I used to be really traditional mulana with the jubba on and the pug and everything. Even on the airport, people are really scared of me. Now when I travel, I look like you guys, normal clothes, everything normal. So it was, you know, I think Zohar time. So we went into the corner and we prayed. We were sitting in the lounge. We have gone through all those processes, and we were in the lounge, and we were waiting for our flight. We were waiting for our call. So we went into the corner and we prayed 2 rakats, Zohar Salah, 2 rakats, and that's it. And when we came back and sat in our seats, there was this old lady, and she came to my friend. She didn't come to me because my friend was clean shaven and he looked more normal than me. So she came to him and she asked him, what did you just do? Why did you pray in the airport? What your prayer represents? What do you say in your prayer? And my friend had no answer. My friend had nothing to say to her except that if you can go and ask our Imam. And Imam is a big word. She didn't come to me then. Afterwards, she didn't come to me. She didn't ask me anything because she was already intimidated by me. He looked normal. And that's why I tell all of you people, you meet the people of Edinburgh. I don't. People are still scared of me. You meet the people of Edinburgh. So if you don't know how to worship Allah in Arabic, so maybe you should make some effort and you should change yourself. And you should know what you say in your salah. And I always given you references and I always given you resources. If you're still struggling to know what you say in your salah, what your salah represents, sit down with your kids. There's a scholar, American scholar called Abdul Nasir Jangda. He has done a whole series about salah. So just say salah by Abdul Nasir Jangda. There are 6 video clips long, an hour long. You don't have to do the whole thing in one sitting, but just start doing it. You understand what Allahu Akbar represents. You understand what Subhanakallahumma bihamdika represents. You understand what the praising of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will understand all of those things. But these principles are the timeless principles, and you have to stick to them. You know, this Islam that we are talking about, alhamdulillah, the principle of Islam, they have survived several cultures across the world. You are from Malaysia, I'm from Pakistan, you are from... There are people sitting here, you know, we come from different cultures. But alhamdulillah, when it comes to Islam, the principles of Islam, there is no difference of opinion. We all were here and praying Isha Salah together. I didn't say that I want to pray in Urdu. You didn't say you want to pray in Malay. Or our brother didn't say that he wants to pray in... We all were praying in Arabic language. So this thing has survived across different cultures all over the world. There is no way that we can say that this... There is no reason that we believe that it's not going to survive this UK culture. It will. And if you start thinking that, you know, we are very different and we are living in this unique modern context that requires us to update our Islam, by the way, let me be frank here. Every generation thought that before us. Every generation thought that they were the modern generation. And you know, this world was a very different place after 800 years of Islam, as it is now after 1400 years and 15 years. World was a different place. And world will be a different place. Every year it will be a different place. New things will start happening. But these are the timeless things. We should not think along those things. These are the timeless principles. We should stick to them. And I sincerely make dua, because there are some kids sitting here, I sincerely make dua that we inspire our younger generation so that they have this appreciation for the timeless perfection of Islam. And we don't become the people like Bani Israel. We don't become like those who even went to Musa alayhi salam. Can you imagine? Who went to their prophet, telling their prophet, maybe we should update our religion because we found some other people and their practices that we are really impressed with. So I sincerely make dua that we have appreciation for our religion, for our practices. And we don't demand our religion to change for us. We change ourselves for our religion. So are we ready for this? May Allah grant us understanding.